Hey everyone, what's up? My name's Reeves and I like to talk about movies. First off, I just want to say it has been a long time since I uploaded, and for that, I'm sorry. If I'm being totally honest, I just didn't really have anything I wanted to talk about. I was a little uninspired, and for me personally, I'd rather just not talk about anything at all instead of just rush a video out just so I can get something out. I mean, if I don't care about it and I'm just getting it done to get it done, then I know you're not going to enjoy it, so I would have rather just held out. Now I'm back for a different video. This one I think I'm going to have a little bit of fun with. Instead of just talking about a movie and my thoughts of it, I want to do a little speculation. Today I want to talk about the fish tank gang in Finding Nemo. I don't know if I've ever shared this on the channel, but Finding Nemo is probably my favorite movie, ever. I have seen it several times. I used to watch it every day when I was really little. It's just a movie that's stuck with me ever since. In the very end of Finding Nemo, we see the fish tank gang finally roll out from the dentist's fish tank into the sea. If you're unfamiliar, basically Gil had come up with a plan to dirty up the tank so that the dentist would have to put them in plastic bags. Then they could roll from the plastic bags onto the street and into the water. They attempted this in the movie, didn't quite work out, but one thing leads to another, Nemo gets home, the end. But what happened to the fish tank gang themselves? Well, we see in the end, Peach, the starfish, rolling off into the water, and boom, they're done, they did it. But the comedic element is, now what do they do? Here's a picture of them just sitting there in their plastic bags, and that's it, the movie's over now. So I wanted to speculate, what happened to them? How could they get out of this situation? Well, canonically, we do actually see these characters again at the end of Finding Dory. We see them in their bags, but it's just algaed up. But for the purposes of this video, we're just gonna ignore that and pretend that that didn't happen. I wanna see, how can the fish tank gang get out of the bags? Well, first and foremost, I don't think that they actually could if this had happened in real life. I did a little bit of Googling, and I even got to the point where I just searched what would happen if you put a fish in a plastic bag and threw it in the water. Couldn't really find anything, and I bet you're not too surprised there. Now, of course, throwing just plastic in the water by itself is absolutely awful and something that you should never do. And I know in terms of health consequences for animals, if they ate plastic, they could suffocate or even starve. But I don't know necessarily what would happen if an animal was in plastic and then in the water. Despite that, I still don't think it would be very likely for a fish to survive just floating in a plastic bag. But we're gonna throw that aside because I don't like to think that the gang would just die. Let's find a way for them to get out. So there were two possible ways that I could come up with, and they're both involve really the same thing, and that's they have to break the bag somehow. When I was first preparing to make this video, I thought the easiest solution would be for Blow to just expand because his quills or spikes could pop the bag and then he gets out. But then if we go back to the picture, we find that the bag is really big, and even at the end, he does puff up and he can't even breach the bag. So that isn't going to be an option for us, unfortunately. But what I think could be the most likely scenario is using their mouths. Now, it's clear in the movie that these fish can actually use their mouths the same way we as humans can. In the Pixar universe, in Finding Nemo, the fish are able to move their mouth and their jaws the same way we as humans can. Our best proof of this is when Nemo is in the tank and he's grabbing that plant by the stem with his teeth, and then Gil and the rest of the gang pull him out through the tube. But just revisit the movie and you'll see the facial jawline structure of these fish is very reminiscent of those as humans. They can also use their tongues, which helps them out in this situation. Honestly, I think the best way that this could work is if the fish just somehow pressed up against the bag and just use their mouths to pull it into their teeth and then just tear. Now, of course, this could backfire, as they could grab it and maybe they pull on it and the bag just shifts over and doesn't tear. But I'd like to think that they could eventually get it to a point to where it would pull and then eventually break. I don't know if you've ever tried to pull plastic before, but if you pull hard enough on it, sometimes it doesn't tear. It just gets very, very weak and then from that point, it's not too hard to penetrate. So let's use Blow, for example. If he used his teeth and pulled it and stretched the bag, he could easily just brush up against that side and poke it. Or Gil could use with his mouth and then just use his teeth again. Point is, I really just think using the mouth, the teeth, and tearing it is the easiest way. And then once one fish gets out, they could assist from the outside. Another possible scenario I thought of is the seagulls and the pelicans. Most likely the seagulls though. I mean, maybe they would try to attack the fish and they would swoop down and their beaks would end up just popping in the bag. That would be easier, because if it just popped, well then they just swim down into the ocean. So I feel like that would be easier, but much less likely. The guy, I believe his name is Jacques, the little shrimp looking dude, he can like clean things, and I'm sure he's got pokey stuff on him that could poke through the bag. But honestly, it's really just finding a means of tearing the bag, likely through teeth, or just having something pokey to penetrate through it. And then once one fish gets out, he or she can assist the others from the outside. As for what happens after they get out, I'm not too sure. Now, I could do some research to see of these 7 aquatic species, which ones can thrive and live in this environment where they are in Sydney, but I didn't. I just really wanted to talk about how could they get out, not necessarily what happens once they do. Basically, to summarize it, easiest way to get out, probably just be tearing it with their teeth. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and thanks for the support. I'll see you guys next time.